is iRacing.
While iRacing has seen the Skippies race on Suzuka's GP circuit many times, it's a bit oversized for these small cars. So today, we'll truncate things as we get ready for round 9 of the Skip Barber Race Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Craig King. Behind the scenes is our director, Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Craig, again, it's refreshing to see a lesser-used circuit show up on the schedule.
Yeah, I know there was a YouTube video by a content creator looking at smaller tracks in rare seat uses, but to see a smaller track like this is just always fun to see, and I feel a little bit old school here.
Yeah, I do as well. And the East Course has actually seen some interesting history in real life, including a NASCAR race back in the 90s. Let's get a closer look at Suzuka with our track guide. Welcome to Suzuka Circuit. Perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history, this track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degner's 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard? Well, as we'll see here on the map, a much shorter version that includes at least one of the major iconic corners here.
Well, I think more than 2 when you think about it, because the whole S's are just a big deal here. But this is something that I said old school. If you were a kid of the 2000s driving little console racing games and you'd be having one of your first races would be a little coupe car around this track. It was short, but it's absolutely legendary. You take that classic first corner, that 1-2, you hit the S's, the snake as they call it, then to the anti-bank curve, and then that's it. So all that track is very tight to really make some moves, but it is such a great test of keeping control of the car, limiting your braking, moving the weight balance properly, and then that quick downhill to 8 and 9, back onto the start-finish straight. We taught Joe a lot about how this car is a draft car, a lot of draft tracks. There's one straight here, and it may only be the only correct place to make an overtake today. It is going to be a real battle of patience and attrition.
Indeed. And I wonder what that's going to mean about the qualifying, which is just getting started here. But before we get to the action on track, I want to take a look at the championship situation. And it is currently Martin up at the top, only 6 points ahead of Adam Miles, who has definitely been the one to beat many of the times that we go racing here in the Skippies. Otuga only 11 points behind Martin. Bertie there sits in 4th, where we have a bit of a drop off. He's in a close fight with Guardia for that 4th position. From there, you can see Cabal, Sanchez, Burke, and Martinez all within about 14 points of one another there for that 6th spot. And then you get back to Suaponki, who rounds out our top 10. In the meantime, why don't we take a look at our race details and what we've got in store today?
Yeah, it is round 9 today. It's not 9 laps, it's 25 laps around here on a very quick track, and it is an open setup, but most drivers just use the same setup for the whole season, but you can tweak it to your heart's consent. It will be one spare car as we're in the D series out here today, so a wreck, and you do get a chance to get back out there onto the track. But as it's D series, it will be a disqualification today at 17 incident points, not a drive-through. But also the key thing is it's an open wheeler here. It's the classic standing starts, and as we'll see very shortly, Joe, it's a little bit damp out there. If it stays damp for the start, we could have a very interesting launch off.
Yeah, I'm seeing the timing and scoring showing us as very lightly wet on the track surface, but it is saying 0% precipitation. So it's not actually raining, but it looks like it is a drying track. Could be interesting unless we get more, and I don't see any predictions of rain coming our way. Then I suppose it should theoretically dry up over the course of this short race. But during qualifying, I have been seeing a lot of slipping and sliding around, but currently DeFrida is our quickest driver in the number 6 at a 1-flat-3.
Yeah, he'll come around again. Remember, these are single groove tires, so these are all-purpose tires, similar to like what you'd see in Formula E. So you don't have to ask the question, do I go to wets or do I go to slicks, because they all work for the same thing. Javier Sanchez coming around for his final lap, just hugging it on the last curve. And even though it's not the full part of the last curve, they still officially call it the last curve, as Rafael Boma will go into pole position. De Vries gets knocked off. Sanchez only goes up to 1 minute, 0.559. Very quick times, and just 4/10 separate the top 6 at the moment. Here comes the championship leader, Martin. He's going to come across the line, and will he be able to long start finish straight and not a good first lap?
Some drivers are definitely waiting a bit. I wonder if they're hoping it will dry that tiny bit more to get a quicker lap towards the end of the session, because Adam Miles only just emerged from pit lane. Nick Disson, in the meantime, coming around without a lap time set. This is heading up towards the end of the snake and down into 8 and 9. It gets pretty tight in there. Let's see, one more left-hander. Have a little bit of a crest, and you'll see the narrow cut through that they have that connects this part to the front stretch.
It's almost a bit blind. Nick's got a bit too wide there and trying to keep the throttle down. I think if he was a drier track, I think he'd be all right with that. But unfortunately, unable to make that work. Tim Bertie doing a little bit of drifting. I know this is where this is Japan and you've got initial D, but I think that was a bit too much out there. As they're still trying to find the limits, and they're also, in some respects, trying to dry the track. Just to give an idea of the weather, as more drivers of Toga coming around, Joe, it's 16 Celsius. That's 60 Fahrenheit. I can't remember the last time. Well, I've never seen a track this cold on iRacing, but that just goes to the nature of the rain.
Exactly. I have seen it on a few times with the wet track that it can get pretty cold on the track surface. We don't have the sun shining down since it is early in the morning, just before 9 a.m. virtual standard time. Birdie's second lap not going to count, unfortunately, and that 1-flat-5 going to have to stand. Rafael Bomer is currently our quickest now with a 1-flat-0.1. And Adam Miles gets ready to set his first lap time as he crosses that early timing line here at the start of the straightaway. Let's see where this places him on the first attempt. 1 minute, 0.508. That's only good enough for 6th.
For the moment, but again, he's only 3/10 behind, and tires hopefully should get up now. Turning in early for the first turn to try and make sure he keeps that camera, and he's done it as everybody has. He's just had a slide. This is going to be it for Adam. That's going to be it for him. Just try to carry more speed, and I think the drivers are thinking that there's more grip out there than there is. And I think it's just catching him a little bit of straight, because he didn't hit any puddles on the curves. Tuga, with a surprise though, goes up into pole position. As we're watching Philip Burke goes over the crest. Has he gone too wide? They're having to almost attack the corner and then turn in and brake. It's a very weird line they're taking, almost like an elongated diamond out there, Joe.
One thing we have to remember is that these drivers got maybe half of a reconnaissance lap in the warm-up that you get, the short warm-up before qualifying began. Otherwise, they might not necessarily have practiced in these conditions. When I hopped into a practice, it seemed like the track was dry. I didn't look to see what the percentage chance of a wet race is, but yeah, this could be something where drivers are just simply unprepared and we are entering the unknown.
28% chance of participation overall for the whole session. It was going to be about 25% chance when they hit practice. The Suzuka just comes across to set even more faster laps. First man into the minute. Yeah, it's meant to be 11% chance of participation for the race here today. That could be very interesting. There is no more rain on the forecast. It's all come down already.
Philip Burke is on his second lap, and I think he's going to try and improve on that 15th. I know we've cut away from the pictures, but I'll just update you. 1 minute, 0.2. Oh, that was important for him. From 16th to 4th, just behind Luke's Neo, who I think just improved his position up to 3rd. Nick Thyssen, who we covered, unfortunately not going to get a lap time in. And I think looks like Egoitz Ballart did set a time, but did not really improve his position. So grid is now set, and Otuga is on the pole with Rafael Boomer, starting from 2nd, Luke's Neo in 3rd, and Philip Burke, like we said, late in the qualifying, all the way up into P4 to make our qualifying top 4 split by less than 3/10. Arjan de Frida will start from the 5th spot with Raul Rosas Guardia in 6th, and it's Frankie D in 7th and David Kennedy in 8th. Row 5 sees a shocking Adam Miles starting 9th, and Jordi Pujolaru will be starting from 10th.
The only man that got a full lap in the practice session before the race, Konrad Grabowski, will be in 11th with Javier Sanchez in 12th. Tim Bertie back in the unlucky 13th with Miguel Quinto Martin in 14th. Then it's Francisco Machini in 15th. Berto Otero will be in 16th. Pablo Rodriguez Hogla 17th. David Palosius will be in 18th. Peter Serpanki, the last of the time, qualifies in 19th, which leaves Nick Thyssen 20th. And one more name, Egoitz Ballart, will be on his own in 21st.
21 cars, 2 splits, and a strength of field in the 5,000s today. It is pretty darn stacked as we wait for them to get the signal from the flag stand. You can see maybe just a bit of dampness on the track, but like we said, it doesn't seem significant. We'll see how quickly that racing line dries up and what that will do in terms of pace out there. And also in terms of passing attempts, because if there is a single dry line, that's going to make it even more tough to try and overtake here, which could mean early stages are critical for the drivers. Just 2 more, or 2 or 3 really, it looks like, waiting to line up. Then we get started for round 9 here in the Skip Barber Sim Series at one of the lesser used tracks, or at least lesser used layouts here on iRacing with Suzuka East. Looks like it's Philip Burke, the last one that is going to line up on the grid, and now he plops his car right where it needs to be. There is our full field of 21 as the engines start to rev, the lights come up, and there is the green flag flying down into turn 1. We had at least one car start from pit lane from what I could see there off to the side, but immediately everybody going off to the racing line as tiny bits of spray continue to kick up behind these cars, but Otuga will be first into the corner.
David Kennedy, the one taking a grid start, or now taking it slowly, side by side behind though. Boma trying to get past Luke's Neo, everyone keeping it clean. Pelosius and Hogla getting past a wide Berto Otero to start the race, and now comes the interesting part. You can go side by side, and you just saw it there by the fairest of margins, just there for Raphael. You can go side by side, but the drivers have to take such a wide line through these corners, especially the anti-bank curve, because of the puddles. Even with that half an hour sim time wait between quali and the race, it's not made a lot of difference. They're all going to be trying to find some grip out there and find a lot of it.
Raphael's got to be careful. He was 2 wheels in the grass there heading into the S's. It was David Kennedy who started from pit lane, and I think we had an issue for the number 19. Jordy seems to have fallen backwards. Here's Adam Miles with a poor qualifying, already charging forward up 1. Can he make it 2 here? Getting by Frankie D down into the first corner. Otuga, you can see defending into that first turn as well. Raphael taking evasive action. Now Luke's Neo trying to duck in and take that P2 away.
They're going to hold it side by side. A little bit of a 2x2 behind as well, but these two still goes. And if we watch the 79s, that was on for Neo, but just a little bit of the washout there from Bowman. Straight on the radio, he goes apologizing. This is just a start. If you're the likes of Adam Miles, you want to see, because you know that this allows you to just hold up. Drivers taking so many different lines. A wobble there for the book. Just look at them. This is a battle of attrition we talked about. At the Rainier, it's just changed things big time. Miles gets another position and on a really good run here on Guardia, but everybody's in this train. Otuga's got a little bit of a lead now.
Palacios, the latest to fall victim to this slippery track and falls to the back of the field. Wow, aggressive down to the inside, all the way down to the inside wall there, and they're going to make contact. They're going to slip around in front of the entire field, collecting multiple other cars. Guardia in there, Neo in there, Philip Burke as well. It got aggressive and it went over the line.
I know that Michael Schumacher drove for an Italian team, but Luke Neo was not Michael Schumacher, and he pushed into the wall there. It felt like he was just squeezing the room, thinking that Philip was going to get out of it. Philip had nowhere to go. He only had a wall next to the side of him. That's caused a big moment, and it's completely switched up the field. How Adam Miles didn't get any damage, we will never know. Avoids it, but I lost count how many drivers there.
Sorry.
Loads of drivers out, and now Otuga's had a moment out there, coming back onto the main track.
Our leader, yes, he now falls to 6, so Miles is up to P2 here, and we're starting lap 4. Luck has swung the way of the number 1 driver, who now tries to chase down Raphael Bomer. Behind him, we're going to go wheel to wheel between Otuga and Garbowski, for that 5th position, but it looks like Daniel is going to take it despite being on the outside into turn 1. So unfortunately, a mistake catching out our pole sitter.
Everybody, let's just breathe for a moment. We're only 4 laps into this race and everything's going on. Still, everybody in a train at the moment. Javier Sanchez making his way up 5 positions as well. Martin also going, and theirs just still going. Look at this replay again. Raul Roche's Guardia. I know that's what they said, but we're looking at this. Luke's Neo is the red car, and he is squeezing. And I just feel that's too much squeezing there, Joe. I know this isn't the real world, but Michael Schumacher did that. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars caught up with that. That was very, very dangerous and not safe driving.
We have to remember SimRacing, like you said, it's not the real world, and netcode can sometimes complicate things. And I wonder if that's what happened there, is just the touch would not have caused as much of an accident if it was the real world. In the meantime, down in the first turn, DeFrida and Otuga, along with, I think that's Frankie D, yes, in the green and black around the outside of turn 1, all squabbling for a podium position. D holds it. Arjan wants it, but he has to, well, no, he doesn't have to fall back. He's going to slice in front of him. Nice move.
Good move. We saw that again. In open wheelers, that move is on. It does help you a little bit. There's not a lot of camber. Almost locking wheels right now with the Frida and D and Otuga, and they do, just for a tight moment. And D goes a little bit wide. Keeps the car on, though, thanks to the fact that it's a bit wet. The grass works a little bit better, but now losing more position. Javier Sanchez now a little bit of an overlap, but just running too much there because they have to go over the pit entry for the real world and then back on some of the grass. So a little bit of a bump there, just stalled on Javier then. Javier's going to be losing out again unless he gets a move here on Martin. He will get the overlap. That should do it. Up ahead, Otuga, he's on a recovery drive, and what a recovery drive it is. He's back up to 3rd.
Nicely done. Gets by Arjan. Meanwhile, Sanchez is able to at least take 8th place, but it is a right mess in this group. Hard to tell exactly what's happening. So here's what put Otuga out of the lead initially. A slide coming to the left-hand portion at the end of the S's, and that allowed through multiple cars just like that.
Yeah, it was a very uncharacteristic slide, and it's coming into the part, it's the starting part of Dunlop. They don't do the whole of the Dunlop corner here on this layout. They just do half of it and then a quick right-hander. I think he was just trying to set himself up, carry some of the speed to allow him to just get a really slow entry and slow in, fast out. Usually does work. Tim Bertie right there behind Javier Sanchez. We'll see if he gets a run in front of them. Martin looking to try and get a run on Frankie D, and D keeps going backwards and can't really help it, but he is fighting this. That outside line is a little bit helpful because there is water built up at the bottom there on the apex, but Martin just struggling. D may get another run at this, but no, nothing there for him, and he's just going to have to concede.
Our championship leader up 8 positions since the start of this race. This could be a champion's drive right here if it comes down to it at the end of the season. Because remember, he can't afford to give up too much to Adam Miles, who right now is in second and has been kind of showing himself in the mirrors of Rafael. I don't think he's been close enough to actually make a pass, but I do get the sense that he's trying to see if he can get in his head a little bit.
Well, they've been trading fastest laps. Miles was 2/10 faster last lap. Lap we just had, Bowman was a 10th faster, and Bertie now the fastest car on the track. And in the background, he's looking to make a move on Frankie D. You'll see that in the timing tower, and Miles continues on. In fact, there we go. Does he go a bit too wide, though? He does, and we'll have to hopefully use the inside at the start of the S's to really make a move. But as we've seen today, it's tough to do that. But if you do wash out a little bit when you hit that puddle, and you just see there with Tim, a little bit of washout there, and I don't mean the rain. He's going to hold this side by side. That's good. They're going to be losing time to Frankie D, and that just means even more gap, because look at the gap between the top two and the rest of this field. The last thing you want is this pack to lose another part of the train.
And boy, you can really see from the onboard where there are some serious puddles down at the apexes in a few spots. So I think you mentioned turn 1. It looked like I think there was one in turn 6 as well, all along the inside. It's going to be tricky. There's a big look from Miles. Again, just way too far back to actually make a legitimate attempt out of this. In the meantime, I think Bertie is going to put D down one more, and he does. That is 7th place for Tim Bertie.
This gives me Daytona vibes, Joe, and I don't mean like a super speedway. Just gives me Daytona road vibes, where everybody waits until the last straight to make a move, and you're still battling to get that move sorted out in the next 2 corners. That's what it feels like at the moment. So it's just basically a game of staying with one another. And credit to Atuga, he is matching time with the leaders, but you're not going to find 2 seconds by just matching time with the leaders. Here's Pablo Hoglar as well. Not talking a lot about him. Up 7 for the day, right behind Javier Sanchez, and another driver goes a little bit wide. Tim Bertie just up ahead of him with a different line here, Joe. I wonder if that's helpful or a hindrance, because it feels like he's found grip out of that.
Yeah, and that is something the drivers will have to keep in mind, as Miles, I think, is going to get the lead. He does indeed. Rafael cannot hold him back any longer. Miles goes from 9th to 1st in 10 laps. Impressive stuff. The question is, can he shake him now? Because Rafael clearly seems pretty quick. And I get a feeling that front straightaway should at least keep him in touch for a while.
Well, one would think, but it all just depends if Adam now has that momentum and keep on driving. We talked about how we don't know if races have been wet this week. However, looking on the full sim time, there was a 40% chance of rain 2 hours or almost 3 hours from now. Sim time, so about 6 o'clock in the morning with about 40% chance of rain. Sim time right now 9:17, so it would have wetted the track. Not a lot of time, not a lot of places for the sun to come out and really dry up the track. So this is still a wet track, and it's not going to work for them. De Rivera as well making moves, so this is now just accepting the track is wet. We're not clearing the water quick enough. It's going to stay like this for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too, that the car's not as effective with them being so small and the tires being so skinny. It's not really making the dry line quite as fast as I anticipated. We're still seeing little bits of spray here and there. Plus, I mean, look at how they keep fanning out on so many of the different corners. We're seeing a lot of different lines happening.
A lot of different lines, and keeping us to spray isn't really affecting the drivers. I know a lot of the drivers talk about how too much spray and it's hard to see. Well, at the end of the day, that's what it's like in the real world. I remember Joey Logano saying yeah, the spray driving in the wet and slicks is better than on wet tires. Well, yeah, because you've got the groove tires and not a lot of grooves on these tires and not a lot of spray. That's going to help with this slipstreaming up ahead. An overtake is happening, and Miles has accepted it. He's allowed Broma to go through. I think that's a little bit tactical here, and if they work together, they might extend this lead.
Last lap, they were not quicker, though. It was about 0.2 faster for Otuga, and he's drawing along the whole train of cars. So this will be fascinating. If he can pull them up, that's going to massively complicate the battle for the lead.
It could, and I wonder if that's what well, don't think that's his plan, because he doesn't want to hold up Adam Miles. He doesn't want to get these guys going. Hello, Frankie D. Trying to defend against Javier Sanchez, and Javier getting the inside there to the anti-bank curve, just having nothing else to respond with. And I'm starting to see some of the cars start to slide. That characteristic slide from the Skip Barbers is coming. The start straight, granted, ignore the puddles, Joe, is looking pretty dry right now. But they're racing on the side of the track now, so it's going to be a little bit wet as Otero as well, trying to make a move. Javier Sanchez also getting caught up as well. Martin right behind, not knowing where to go. He's just going to have to wait for this, and De Verde has gone a bit too wide. And again, super speedway style, Joe, you go high, you lose out.
They're continuing to run wheel to wheel down into the snake, but it looks like Arjan is going to come out ahead in that 4 spot. Tim slots back into P5. Martin now behind them, still sitting in P6. How much higher can he climb? And crucially, can he keep up with Otuga? I think that's the big thing here. He doesn't want to let Daniel be able to run away too much, since he is another driver that's high up in the points here. So we are coming down to 12 laps to go, with Rafael and Adam still up at the front and still swapping positions. This time by, they were mildly quicker than Otuga.
Mildly, well, Miles at the fastest lap last time, 58.4. Everyone running 58.6s, and just around about that is Hoglar now as well looking. Give a shout out to Christian, by the way. Every time you look, and because the gap between the top 13 is just 7 seconds, you look at the lead battle change, and you have to switch right back to the next battle, and then right after that back to the next battle, because they're all just in little pockets now, just leapfrogging one another to just keep that momentum, because if they lose that momentum, they lose the group. And if you start to see little gap there between Sanchez and Grabowski, but they're still working together in somewhat. It's a very long train from 3rd, I want to say, all the way down to 11th at the moment.
Sure, commentators' curse will strike me once again, but just want to give credit to the drivers. Other than that one big incident, we've had 2 retirements. Everybody else is still out there. 19 cars out of 21 starters on the circuit. Tim Birdie manages to get by DeFrida, and Otuga, the next one up the road in front of him as they exit 1 and 2. Still about 2.1 seconds from this train to the pair that is leading this race.
This really does feel, when Christian had that overhead view, really does feel a little bit like it's Grand Tour cycling at the moment. They're all just trying to get their ducks in line to make sure that they're getting the right run here, but I think they have to accept the breakaway group is just too good. David Pelocios just takes a tow, by the way. I can report that. That's why he's into the pits. But it does feel now that the drivers are just happy enough to just keep this little momentum going and just wait. And now comes the game, Joe. We're at 11, now going to be 10 to go. The drivers have to start thinking, do I make the overtake now? How does that play in the long run? They're going to have to start thinking 3 laps ahead.
Yeah, I think the slipstream battles always kind of lend themselves to needing some strategy to get yourself into the right position. It isn't necessarily making a pass every single time you can take one. It's where do you want the car coming to the last lap, coming to the second to last lap, where on the lap. There's so many factors to take into account. This one, probably simpler than most, though, since you only have the one long straightaway.
Yeah, and I thought it would be a little bit of an issue for these cars, but it's actually turned out to be a strength for these cars, because we talk about it, Joe, sometimes. A track that's hard to overtake just results in groups of cars racing together, and sometimes people think, well, they're just going around together. That's boring. They're going around together 2 tenths from one another. close racing, respectful racing. They're not hitting each other. They're not being a bit too aggressive. They're just waiting for the opportunity. This is actually fun racing. I know it doesn't look it to some people. This, to me, is a real fun way to do the racing. Even at the back end, Peter Pankey fighting Ballard there at the back of the field, still having their own little battles here. There is something for everybody. Nobody, apart from Burke and Neo, are racing on their own.
Yeah, they're trying to get back up with the next group in front. Well, actually, it's Lone Car. Nicholson is the next one. But these two have been leapfrogging as well. I'm kind of surprised to see Nick still down in 14th, but he did have that bad qualifying where he was not able to set a lap. And maybe that kind of set the tone for him. There you just saw a tiny flash of him at the bottom of the screen in his bright yellow car. So one to forget for him, at least as it sits right now.
Yeah, and unfortunately he did actually catch a little bit of damage. I don't know where. You just see the wing just a little bit broken. Boma goes into the lead, as you see right there. Next car up. Tuga can't allow Bertie through. Different lines, and I feel almost the whole of the first turn now is a little bit drier, so they've got an idea of what lines to take, because even some of the cars are taking different lines around there now, trying to really optimize the corners. But interestingly, Joe, I've just seen the first time for a long time the gap is less than 2 seconds. It's 8 to go. I can't see it happening too much, as we see another moment here with Berto Otero as well, just getting by. And is it going to take too much there? Yeah, it takes too much. Everyone should be able to avoid him, and that's a slow-mo you never want to see. And there you go. It's not a slow-mo, it's real time.
Eventually getting by. It's always tough when that car just kind of comes to a sideways halt in front of you. You're trying to pick a side. But back to Tim Birdie here, who's on the outside of Martin. Martin going to try and see if he can prevent him from taking another position, but no such luck. Behind him, Sanchez and Garbowski are also going to try and squabble for 7th. Xavier is going to be able to come away with that. Oh, maybe. He's having a fight hard still, and eventually he rebuffs the blue and white machine back into position. Yeah, I wondered about that time coming down, because I noticed that as well. And while I don't think the chances are high that they can catch them, what is the distance? Do you know how far back they start to feel the slipstream?
It has been a long time, Joe. Look at me. I'm old. I'm 37 now. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I want to say it's about 1.2, 1.3 is when you just start to get it in these cars, but they are a little bit smaller, so that does help. And Adam can't make the run. Was that him pulling out to try and make the move? Is he looking to see if Boma is looking for a mistake there? I wonder, but again, slower. Gap is now 1.7. Otuga is a really good Skip Barber driver, Joe. We've seen him in races. He's won races. Don't count him out yet, but I can't see these two going side by side through the S's to really bring that in. But if he did, oh my word, that would be a 10-car train to end the race.
Tip of the hat to the Peanut Gallery. We are being told about 1.1 seconds, so unless they're pulling our legs, that does sound about right to me. And that is possible. 1.4 seconds now back. If they catch them, yeah, it's suddenly going to be so much more difficult for the 12 and the 1 car, because just fighting each other is a little bit easier to predict, but having about 9 cars all within contention for the win, good luck trying to figure out how to position your car. Back to Martin here in the midst of this group, still being led by Otuga up to 3rd.
They've got the best driver really to lead it, the number 8, but let's talk about numbers. You said the 1 and the 12. In a 21 car field, the number 12 car is mixing it up with the number 1 car. There is almost double the iRacing on Adam than there is to Raphael. So it just goes to show how the iRacing at the moment doesn't matter as much as you'd expect it. But this is actually interesting. That gap is closing, and I want to look at this. This, I think, is because Adam doesn't want to make the overtake. He wants to wait till the last moment. That gap's gone down again. 57.7, 57.8, and a 57. What's it going to be? It's a 57.8 again. They're matching and somehow just catching.
And while I know that iRating doesn't necessarily mean as much on speed, as that was a look down the inside by Sanchez, Miguel is going to hold him back. It's more about where you finish consistently. But I think the difference in pace between a 5,000 and a 9,000 iRating driver is probably a lot smaller than, say, a 900 and a 2,000 iRating driver. So, to be fair, I feel like even though Rafael has roughly half the iRating of Miles, it's going to be a lot harder for the two to run away from each other, especially in these cars.
The key thing with iRating is racecraft, and it's the consistency. And can you keep that consistency up? And when you get to 6K, it really just starts to not really matter, because it's all the same. It's just, can you put the time in and get the clear driving in? And that's what Adam's looking at right now, and that's what Rafael was looking at. Again, Adam decides no, we're free to go. I don't blame him. There's going to be a move up ahead. Davida looking for a move as well, and he's going to do this 2x2. They go through the exit at the first turn, and Oturga has lost the lead, or the lead of this pack, sorry, trying to get even more going there. Martin has now had enough, and he's going to try and go on the outside for the first part of the snake. It's not worked, and they're losing time.
Yeah, this is looking like it is suddenly upped in intensity. Maybe they're starting to give up hope at trying to catch those top cars, as Birdie and Sanchez were oh so close to interlocking wheels coming through the end of the snake. Oh, a big chop off at the front of them as well, as DeFrida finds himself with Otuga, eager to try and get the position back, and he's going to get the run down the main straight as once again the top two swap positions.
I don't think they're swapping at the moment. They are now. Adam is swapping with 2 to go. That's a little bit risky up ahead. They're going 3 wide behind, though. Martin's going to try and do it around the outside. On the first turn, he went with the meet in the middle, and somehow he's got that working. Behind, they do come together. Bertie's going to try and pick up the pieces, and he tangles on the back there of Sanchez, who keeps it going, and DeFrida manages to hold on. More time lost, but now it is Martin, the championship leader, up into third.
While Hoglar nearly edges his rival off the track, Garbowski has to pull out of it. Unfortunately, the Oreo sandwich that is that Oreo car finds himself having trouble squeezing his way out of the middle. Behind him is still Frankie D, who has not had a great race compared to qualifying, but is desperately trying to hold on to them. Is this the white flag here? It looks like indeed it is. Miles has the lead. Bulmer is going to try and take down to the inside, finds just enough room, wheels in the grass to try and make it stick. He'll have the inside on the first part of the corner, car on the edge of grip, cutting back underneath. Miles tries to see if he can return the move, but to no avail.
To no avail. I thought he was going to run out of road there for a moment, and Adam gave him the space, realizing he couldn't make that move either. And I think that may have cost him there the victory. He will find places to make moves, Joe. He's only got 3 more corners to make it.
He is leaving no space in there. Look at how close he is to the gearbox of the number 12. Adam Miles has very few opportunities to try and make something happen. In fact, he's going to get in the back of him, and that will cost him speed. That might as well have done it. Rafael is going to exit the final corner, and the number 12 is going to take victory today in Suzuka.
Bit of drama at the end. Otuga did take back P3, but had to serve a slowdown, and unfortunately that allows Martin to get the lead back. One last battle still left to go. Kennedy trying to just pull ahead as well. Can't make it work. Otuga had to serve it all the way to the end, right out of space as well. He will fall down the line to 5th. More drivers coming around. Philip Burt's going to be one of the last drivers to make it, but that, I wonder if that was Adam trying to find an over-under and Rafael just covering every possibility.
Yeah, he slammed that car down to the inside, making sure there was no room at the end. Poor Burke and Neo bound 13 and 15 positions respectively since the start, and a lot of that due to the incident they were involved in at the start of the race. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, and as we watch them wrap up, that gives us a chance to head through our finishing order here today. Rafael Bulmer is going to finish in the 12th, or in the lead of this race, as Adam Miles was so much close to the end, but wound up 0.3 back by the time they got to the line. Martin, what a recovery up to third to minimize the damage between himself and Miles in the points. Tim Berti was 4th and Daniel Otuga was 5th. Then it's Arjan Tafrida in the 6th position, Xavier Sanchez in P7, and Pablo Hoglar in 8th. Konrad Garbowski finishes 9th, followed by Frankie D, who did not have the best of races, but gets a top 10 at least.
Gets a top 10 ahead of Beto Otero, who finishes in the 11th. David Kennedy falls down 4 into 12th. Then Franco Machini will be in 13th, with Nick Fisson carrying some damage all the way back to 14th. Peter Soapanki will be 15th, and then Ogit Ballard will be 16th. Philip Burke had to take a fast repair. He finishes in 17th, as does Luke Neal after that incident at the start. He will be 18th, followed by David Pelosius, who also retired on his own incident. Jordi Pateo will also finish 20th, getting caught out in a separate incident, but Raul Roches Guardia was the big loser out there today with that accident in the first few laps. He finishes in 21st.
Well, 3 DNFs out of 21 starters, still not too bad on a wet race. And up in second, it was Adam Miles. Adam, you lost the lead coming down the straight after the white flag. Obviously, you had to figure out something to get back ahead. What was the plan and what went wrong? Because we saw maybe a slight bit of contact involved.
I don't know that anything went wrong particularly. I was, given what I'd done in qualifying, I was more than happy to bring it home in second. So I figured, do the move as Rafael did down into the first corner on beginning of lap 25. But on the previous lap, he was leading and lifted on the straight to basically idle. And so I had a choice: do I either idle as well, and we just both crawl down the straight and neither of us be first into turn 1 for the final lap, or do I just gun it? Because Daniel wasn't far behind. I thought, I'm not going to play games here. This isn't the Dottinger Höhe at Nordschleife where you lift off for half the straight and then you end up losing 3 or 4 seconds to the cars behind you. So I figured, just go. If he wants to do the move on the final lap, I'll see if I can defend it. And I defended it. I think he was using pit exit, and I think if I'd not opened the door back up again, we might have had one car on the grass and then me in the wall. So I just opened it up, let him have the move, and then wanted to see what I could do. There isn't really another overtaking spot, and yeah, he final corner, obviously he knew what I was going to try and do, and he did probably break into that first apex where he wouldn't normally. It's just as well that I kind of half expected it, did get into the back of him, but just lucky it didn't turn him or me around.
He did get his wheels on the grass a bit, but I am glad you veered back, because we already had one incident that involves that sort of forcing a driver down to the inside, which I understand you had to make your way through. What was that like from your perspective?
It was, those first few laps were pretty hairy. I couldn't tell you who was in that accident going down to turn 1 on lap 2. I think Philip Burke might have been in it, but then they were on the right, then they were in the middle, and they were veering to the left. I think I got at least got some sort of incident contact penalty. Let me have a look. It looks like I got a 4x actually.
Wow.
Passing that incident. So I was lucky to come away with a sort of a phantom 4x I think I was P3 by end of lap 2 or something like that. So once your race perspective changes when you have a bad qualifying and you go from P9 to P2 in 3 laps, you sort of, you're thanking your lucky stars, and you sort of become more accepting, I think, of a P2 if that's what happens.
That's a very zen approach to it. So I have to commend you for an impressive run through the field, and congratulations on the podium.
Thank you.
That's Adam Miles, who comes away with P2 today, which is going to wrap us up. So we want to give a big thank you, of course, to the Skip Barber community for bringing us on for the coverage this season, as well as a thanks to the team today, Craig, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC, because next time out, we are going to Snetterton. It'll be the 300 version of the course on February 19th at 1:15 p.m. Eastern. And then up next on the channel itself, the Grand Prix Legends will be going to another great British track, Donington. Be sure to check out all of our broadcasts that we have listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.